Gentlemen, while you were speaking, I went to whitehouse.gov, where there remains this statement. The United States government has no evidence that any life exists outside our planet or that an extraterrestrial presence has contacted or engaged any member of the human race. In addition, there's no credible information to suggest that any evidence is being hidden from the public's eye. I assume that if I were to ask the gentlemen and women of this committee to vote on whether they would agree with that statement as a premise on which to base their future lives, that answer would be perhaps no. Is there anybody in this room who would support that statement? Here's your opportunity to stand up for our White House. Anyone, stand up for the White House. The problem is that outside of this room, virtually everyone else in this building would agree with that statement. I'd like to have a moment of silence for the end of what was once a compound constitutional republic by, of, and for the people. It has died. It's gone.
May I speak to that?
How do we get it back?
I'd like to toss out another possibility. President Obama selected for his transition chair John Podesta, the current chairman of the founder of the Center for American Progress. John Podesta was the key advisor to President Clinton during the Rockefeller Initiative to have Clinton release all the files in the government hands regarding this phenomena. He was a noted X-Files buff, watched all the shows. 2002, he called for the release of all those files. Like, you must have known what the impact of that might be. He called for the release again in 2003. And then President Obama appointed him the chair of his transition team. And of course, he was, by the way, when they released the logs of the visitors, I think it was the first 90 days of visitors, he was the most present visitor to the White House in the first 90 days. I'd like to suggest another possibility. Purely speculation.
I'll give you 1 minute,
Thank
and then
you.
I have another question.
Okay. I think that President Obama is well aware there's an extraterrestrial presence. Admittedly, he was probably tipped off by John Podesta. But he can't do anything about it. And so when we successfully petitioned the White House and they had to respond, it's possible that they gave such a rigid, fixed, almost indefensible position, not because they're ignorant, but because that was the best they could do to help us out, as opposed to a wishy-washy statement they could have danced around. And by giving us such a fixed position like that, we can pound, we could break it, and if we break it, we break the truth embargo. So it's just possible that the opposite interpretation is that this is an administration trying to help us reach in to help them. I just throw that out because these things are so much more complicated than you might think.